Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the South Derbyshire series, a district of Derbyshire which stretches from Leicestershire to Staffordshire, containing 50 civil parishes. Here's one of them for you. Welcome back to South Derbyshire again, everybody. Now, last week we saw Hoon, and that one was sort of mostly unfilmable because of the fact it was on the end of a private drive. Well, this is very similar. Welcome to a place which is all up a private drive, but up there's quite a few interesting little bits and bobs, including a church dedicated to St Chad. Now, what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to drive up here, I'm going to ask somebody, anybody who lives there basically, how much legally I am allowed to do up there, because at the moment I don't know. This is one of those episodes which could go either way. Who knows? Welcome to the parish of Barton Blount. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Barton Blount, Blount's Fort. This week in South Derbyshire, we hit a place that sits right on the border with the Derbyshire Dales, namely the private village of Barton Blount. The untrained eye might not know anything about Barton Blount, and there's a good reason for that. As you travel north along Limbersitch Lane from the hamlet of Sutton in the parish of Church Broughton, you would do well to know that Barton Blount was even there. The road sports a handful of cottages and the Bartonfields Centre, but the main features of this place are up a private drive. Standing tall at the end of said drive are Barton Hall and the Church of St Chad, which formed the basis of a now long deserted medieval village. It wasn't always called Barton Blount either. The village used to be known as Barton Bakepuys, but it was renamed thanks to its 14th century owners, the Blount family, although Bakepuys itself was a family name. Barton was the seat of Sir Walter Blount, a key supporter of John of Gaunt, who bought it from Nicholas Bakepus in the 1380s. The families may be long gone now, but the Blount name remains. Make no mistake about it, this one was not easy to cover. At several points in this video, I was completely unsure of where I was allowed to be. This is how I got on, and hopefully it all makes sense. So here we go up the drive towards Barton Blount. This is known as Barton Court, and at its very end is a big mansion, Barton Hall, and the Church of St Chad. The two buildings were the centre of a medieval village. To the northwest and south of Barton Hall are the remains of the medieval settlement, which is now a scheduled monument. Earthworks to the northeast of the church show the location of building platforms and adjacent plots of land on either side of a sunken track. That track was once the village's main street. Further to the north and northeast is an area which was excavated in the late 1960s and early 1970s and has since been ploughed. That showed the area covered by Barton Blount today was occupied from the 10th to the 15th century. Found were the remains of both simple timber buildings of early 13th century construction and later more substantial timber-framed buildings. Of course, I was hopeful I could find someone to put the modern village on the map. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've had a quick walk around to see if I can find somebody, and unfortunately I can't find anybody, which is rather annoying. There was one person wandering about, but they seem to have disappeared off the face of the earth. So with no actual sort of permission to do anything here, I suppose I better leave, because if I sort of make a video out of this, and to be honest with you, it's really good, the stuff that's here. I've had a quick look at the church and at the hall, but the second I put it on film, that causes issues, so I don't want to upset anybody. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drive back the way I came and back to the main road. Now, of course, for this to constitute a parish visit, I have to simply just set foot inside the boundaries, and theoretically I've done that here, but there are a couple of other places within Barton Blount's boundaries which I did intend to film anyway, so that is fine. There's no issue there. I will have officially visited this one here in South Derbyshire by the end of this episode. But of course, all this still needs to be spoken about: the hall, the stud, the church, all that kind of stuff coming our way in pictorial form. Let's start with the hall. The imposing 18,925 square foot main house is built of ashlar and brick. It has Georgian sash windows to the front and mullioned windows to the side and rear, and it sits in the middle of a parkland surrounded by beautifully laid out formal landscape gardens and a Tudor courtyard of 4 converted cottages. The hall and the 168-acre estate in which it stands was last valued at a whopping £5.5 million. Barton Hall has been at the centre of civilization here for centuries. In fact, it was built initially in the 15th as a moated, semi-fortified manor house. The current building, the small country house that it is, was remodelled in the 18th century, possibly by Thomas Gardner of Uttoxeter, a local architect well known for his Georgian country houses. Historically, the Barton estate was the seat of Sir Walter Blount, a key supporter of John of Gaunt, who bought the entire village from Nicholas Bakepus in the 1380s, at which point he renamed the place after himself. Sometime after his death at the Battle of Shrewsbury in 1403, Barton Blount passed to his great-grandson Walter, who went on to own a total of 42 manors across 6 counties of England. A century later, James, the 6th Baron Mountjoy, sold Barton Blount and other estates, having spent much of his family fortune in the pursuit of alchemy. During the Civil War in October 1644, in the reign of Charles I, the manor house was garrisoned for parliamentary forces, and a skirmish took place in the neighbourhood between those forces and the royalist troops from Tutbury Castle. In the mid-1850s, Barton Hall was the home of Francis Bradshaw, who was High Sheriff of Derbyshire at that time. The Church of St Chad is more accurately a chapel these days. When Barton Hall was the centre of civilization, St Chad's Church was second in command. The church is a Grade 2 listed building and also a scheduled monument. It was damaged during the Civil War and by the early 18th century was in a dilapidated condition. It was rebuilt in 1714, probably using medieval material by Samuel Tabora. The lower courses of the walls, though, remain from medieval times. Internal features include a 14th century font with an octagonal bowl. The church was declared redundant in 1976 and has since been a private chapel. The interior seats 60 people. Elsewhere in the grounds of the hall, there's an 18th century ha-ha which functions these days as a retaining wall with coping and urns. This is linked by a balustrade to a terrace wall with a double flight of steps and wrought iron railings. Elsewhere, there are wrought iron gates, a bridge, and a summer house with a pyramid-shaped roof and mullioned and transomed windows. And Barton Hall also has a stud, based around a late 19th century stable block. The north range of this contains an embattled clock tower with panelled brickwork, and the east range contains a carriage entrance with a Tudor arch. Okay, so this is the area then that's going to save this one from oblivion, because obviously I can't film any of the main stuff, but I can film this because it's on a public road and within Barton Blount's boundaries. You're looking there at the Bartonfields Centre, which isn't much, I'll be honest with you, but it is worth including. So let's talk about this to finish off. So this is the Bartonfields Centre, several small businesses, 13 in fact, which occupy a collection of units inside a brick-built courtyard. There are too many to list them all, but the one that caught my eye was London Luxury Candle Supplies. They are a home fragrance wholesale supplier, offering products for candle and wax melt businesses. There's also a steel fabricators called Conrad Lewis that make ornamental ironwork. The whole site is flanked by a stream called Longford Brook, and keep that watercourse in mind because it'll become more important next week. Now, before we head off to the next one, here's an interesting factoid. Barton Blount may be a private village, but you can access it on foot, totally legally. To do so, you have to follow a restricted byway near the Barton Field Center, which runs via a few twists and turns directly to Barton Stud, where it then ends. Theoretically then, I could have walked it from here to the village. However, I opted not to, because not knowing what was actually filmable beforehand may well have rendered the walk totally pointless. Sometimes you just have to be careful, and that's what I've tried to do here. Right, on to the next one, and it's about time we had a bigger village, isn't it? See you there. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.